Commander Kyung-ho Park stood at the large window of the Coalition flagship. He watched the stars and felt proud. For over 100 years, humans had worked with alien races to build peace in the galaxy. Today would be special. Today, humanity would share their greatest discovery with everyone. The meeting room was huge. Representatives from 50 different worlds sat around the curved table. Some looked like humans but with different colored skin. Others had extra arms or strange eyes. A few were so different that they needed special suits to breathe. Kyung-ho walked to the center of the room. His hand shook a little, but his voice was strong. "Friends," he said, "today we offer you something that will change everything. Our scientists have built quantum tunnels. With this technology, you can travel across the galaxy in seconds, not months." The room went quiet. Then whispers started. Some aliens leaned forward with interest. Others looked worried. Ambassador Dae-Sung Kim from the Vorthok Empire stood up slowly. His people looked almost human, but their eyes were completely black. "This is very generous," he said with a smile that did not reach his eyes. "But we must ask ourselves, why do humans always have the best technology? Why are they always the ones with new discoveries?" More whispers filled the room. Kyung-ho felt something cold in his stomach. This was not going as planned. "We share our knowledge freely," Kyung-ho said. "We have always worked together. That is what the Coalition means." A tall alien with blue skin stood up. "But you humans grow stronger every year. Your ships are faster. Your weapons are better. Your people live longer. When will it end? When will you have everything and we have nothing?" asked another voice. The whispers became louder voices. Kyung-ho looked around the room and saw fear in many eyes, but not fear of war or danger, fear of humans. Ambassador Dae-Sung raised his hand for quiet. "Perhaps we need to think more carefully about this gift. Perhaps we need to think about the future of the galaxy." Far away from the flagship, Captain Min-ho Lee sat in his ship's captain chair. The Soul's Pride was a beautiful vessel, built by human hands with the best technology they had. Min-ho was reading reports from his wife, So-young, on New Busan colony. "The harvest is going well," her message said. "Nari is growing so tall she misses you, we both do. Come home soon." Min-ho smiled. New Busan was one of humanity's farming worlds. His wife managed the food production there, and his daughter was learning to be an engineer. Life was good. His communications officer, a young man named Jae-min, looked up with worry. "Captain, I'm getting strange signals from the Coalition fleet. They're moving into attack positions." "That must be a mistake," Min-ho said. "Run a system check." But the signals were real. Hundreds of Coalition ships were surrounding human space. They formed a wall around Earth, Mars, and all the human colonies. Back on the flagship, the vote was happening. Kyung-ho watched as one by one each alien race voted. The Vorthok voted first. "We vote to remove humanity from the Coalition," Dae-Sung said. The blue-skinned Zephyrians voted next. "We also vote to remove them." One after another they voted. Some looked sad. Some looked angry. But they all voted the same way. "Why?" Kyung-ho asked. "What have we done wrong?" "You exist," said Dae-Sung quietly. "You learn too fast. You grow too strong. You make us all feel small." "We never wanted to make anyone feel small," Kyung-ho said. "We wanted to help everyone grow together." "That is the problem," said the blue-skinned leader. "You always want to help, you always want to lead, you always want to be better. We are tired of following humans." The final vote was announced. Every race except humanity voted to remove humans from the Coalition. They also voted to take control of all human colonies outside the solar system. They called it protection for the galaxy. Min-ho watched his screens in horror as Coalition ships moved toward New Busan. "Send a message to my wife," he ordered. "Tell her to hide. Tell everyone to hide." But it was too late. The Coalition forces landed on every human world at the same time. They had planned this for months, maybe years. Human families were separated, human ships were taken, human technology was stolen. On New Busan, So Young held her daughter Nari close as alien soldiers walked through their town. "Why are they doing this, Mom?" the girl asked. "Because they are afraid of us," So Young whispered. "And fear makes people do terrible things." The soldiers told everyone that humans were now protected persons, under coalition care. They could not leave the planet. They could not use advanced technology. They had to follow strict rules about everything. Across the galaxy, millions of humans faced the same fate. Families were broken apart. People who had lived free lives suddenly found themselves prisoners. On Earth, the news arrived like a thunder strike. The government held emergency meetings. People gathered in the streets confused and angry. How had their friends become their captors so quickly? Kyung-ho was arrested on the flagship. As they put metal restraints on his hands, he asked Dae-sung one last question. "Do you really think this will make you safer?" Dae-sung looked away. "We will see," he said. The Soul's Pride was one of the last human ships to escape. Minho and his crew jumped into hyperspace just before coalition forces could catch them. They joined other escaped human ships in empty space between the stars. "What do we do now?" asked Jaemin. Minho looked at the stars and thought of his family trapped on New Busan. "We survive," he said. "We learn, and we remember who did this to us." The coalition forces celebrated their victory. They had solved the human problem without firing a shot. Humanity was contained, their technology was captured, and the galaxy was safe from human dominance. But in the darkness between stars, free humans began to plan. They did not know how long it would take. They did not know what they would have to sacrifice. But they knew one thing for certain. The aliens had made a terrible mistake. They had not destroyed humanity. They had only made them angry. And an angry human was the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. The betrayal was complete, but the story was just beginning. 5 years had passed since the betrayal. Earth looked different now. The beautiful cities still stood, but they seemed tired. Empty shops lined the streets where alien goods used to be sold. The space elevators that once carried people to the stars now carried only basic supplies. Dr. Jin-Woo Choi walked through the underground tunnels beneath Seoul. The government had built these secret laboratories after the blockade began. Here, the best human scientists worked on projects the aliens knew nothing about. "Show me the progress," Jin-Woo said to his assistant, Hee-jin Nam. Hee-jin was young but brilliant. She had been a student when the betrayal happened. Now she was one of humanity's best engineers. "The quantum tunnel project is working," she said with excitement. "We can send small objects across vast distances instantly." Jin-Woo smiled for the first time in weeks. "And the alien technology we captured?" "We're learning fast," Hee-jin said. "Their ships use different power sources, but the basic ideas are simple once you understand them." In another part of the laboratory, Woo Sung-bae worked at dozens of computer screens. Before the betrayal, he had been a diplomat. He spoke 12 alien languages and knew their customs. Now he used that knowledge differently. "I've broken into another coalition database," he told Jin-Woo. "They keep detailed records of everything. Ship movements, military positions, even personal messages between commanders." "What are they saying about us?" Jin-Woo asked. Woo-sung laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "They barely think about us at all. They believe we're broken. They think we'll never be a threat again." Far from Earth, in the asteroid fields beyond Pluto, Dong-hyun Yoon was proving them wrong. His rebel base was hidden inside a large rock that looked empty from the outside. Inside, hundreds of humans worked on ships and weapons. "We hit 3 more supply convoys this month," Dong-hyun reported to his team leaders. "The coalition is starting to notice, but they think it's just pirates." His second-in-command, a woman named Bo-ra, pointed to a star map. "We've rescued another 50 humans from the prison planet in the Kepler system. They're being brought here for medical treatment." "Good," Dong-hyun said. "Every person we save is one more fighter for the future." The rescued humans told terrible stories. The coalition treated them like animals in some places. They were forced to work in mines and factories. Families were kept separated to prevent organizing. Many humans had died from poor treatment. But the stories also revealed something important. The aliens were not united. Some felt guilty about what they had done. Others were greedy and fighting over the stolen human territories. The coalition was weaker than it appeared. On New Busan, so young, Lee had become a leader among the human colonists. On the surface, she managed food production like always. But secretly, she ran a network of resistance fighters. Her daughter Nari was now 15 years old. The girl had learned to hack alien computer systems by watching their guards. "Mom, I found something interesting," she said one evening. They were in their small apartment which the aliens watched with hidden cameras, but Nari had learned to create dead zones where they could talk freely. "The supply ship that comes next week has weak security," Nari whispered. "I can break into their communication system and send messages to other colonies." So Young felt, proud and worried at the same time. Her daughter was becoming a skilled fighter, but she was still just a child. "Be very careful," she said. "If they catch you—" "They won't catch me," Nari said with the confidence of youth. "I'm smarter than they are." Across the galaxy, similar conversations were happening on every human colony. The aliens thought they were keeping humans controlled, but really they were creating something new. Humans who had lived comfortable lives were learning to be soldiers and spies. The coalition races were enjoying their victory. The Vorthak Empire had taken the richest human colonies. They lived in human-built cities and used human-built machines. Ambassador Dae-sung had become one of the most powerful leaders in the galaxy. But strange things were happening. Supply ships disappeared in empty space. Communication stations stopped working for no reason. Small groups of humans vanished from prison colonies, leaving no trace. "It's probably equipment failures," Dae-sung told other coalition leaders. "Human technology breaks down without proper maintenance." The blue-skinned Zephyrian leader was not so sure. "My intelligence officers think there might be organized resistance," she said. "Impossible," Dae-sung replied. "We destroyed their military. We took their technology. They're scattered across the galaxy with no way to communicate or organize." What they didn't know was that humans were using the aliens' own systems against them. Every coalition ship had communication equipment. Every colony had computer networks. Humans were learning to move through these systems like ghosts. Wusung Bei had trained dozens of humans to be hackers and spies. They got jobs working for aliens, cleaning their offices and maintaining their computers. The aliens barely noticed human servants, which made them perfect for gathering information. "The coalition military uses the same passwords for everything," one spy reported. "Their security is terrible because they never expect humans to fight back." Jinwoo's scientific team was making breakthrough after breakthrough. They had learned to make quantum tunnels large enough for people to travel through. Jin had developed new materials that were stronger than anything the aliens had. But the most important discovery was about human biology itself. The stress of the last 5 years had changed them. Their bodies were adapting to work better in space and under pressure. Their minds were processing information faster. Hardship was making them stronger. "We're becoming something new," Jin told Jinwoo. "The aliens wanted to stop human evolution, but they actually speeded it up." On his asteroid base, Donghyun received a coded message from Earth. It was time to move to the next phase of their plan. His people had spent 5 years learning alien technology and rescue tactics. Now they were ready for something bigger. "Send word to all resistance cells," he ordered. "Begin Phase 1 preparations." Across the galaxy, humans received similar messages. On New Busan, So Young gathered her most trusted people. On Earth, Jinwoo activated secret communication networks. In space, scattered human ships began moving toward hidden meeting points. The coalition forces noticed increased activity in human populations, but they thought it was just normal life. After 5 years of quiet behavior, they had stopped watching so carefully. That was their mistake. Min-ho Lee, who had been hiding in deep space with his ship, received a message that made his heart race. It was from his wife, So Young, sent through the new quantum tunnel network. "My love," the message said. "The time is coming. Our daughter has grown into a warrior. I have become a general. We are ready to come home. Minho looked at his crew, all of whom had families trapped on coalition worlds. How long until we can reach New Busan? With the new quantum drive Jinwoo sent us? 6 hours, his navigator replied. Then we go in 6 hours, Minho said. It's time to remind the galaxy what humans can do when they work together. The 5 dark years were ending. Humanity had spent that time learning, growing, and preparing. The aliens thought they had caged a beast, but they had actually created something much more dangerous. They had created a united humanity with nothing left to lose. The message arrived at exactly midnight Earth time. On every human colony, in every hidden base, in every secret laboratory, the same words appeared on screens. Phoenix Protocol is active. Sunrise in 72 hours. Jinwoo Choi stood in his underground laboratory and felt his heart pound. 5 years of preparation had led to this moment. Around him, scientists and engineers worked frantically to complete the final preparations. The quantum tunnel network is ready, Hye-Jin Nam reported. We can move people and supplies instantly between any 2 points in the galaxy. The nanotechnology is ready too, added another scientist. Our people can heal faster and think more, clearly now. Jinwoo nodded. And Wusung's intelligence network? Complete, Wusung Bei said as he walked into the room. I know where every coalition ship is located. I know their weapons, their crew, their weaknesses. They have no secrets from us anymore. In the asteroid belt, Dong Hyun Yoon gathered his fighters. The hidden base was buzzing with activity. Ships that had looked like broken rocks were revealing themselves as advanced warships. Humans who had seemed like simple refugees were putting on military uniforms, remember, Dong Hyun told his people. We are not trying to destroy anyone. We are trying to wake them up. Show them that humans cannot be caged. His ships began to move toward their first targets. These were not random attacks. Every strike was planned to disable communication systems and make the coalition confused and blind. On New Busan, So-Young Lee walked through the fields where she had worked as a farmer for 5 years. But tonight she was not thinking about crops. She was thinking about freedom. Her daughter Nari stood beside her, no longer a child, but a young woman with skills that would amaze any computer expert. The security grid is ready to fall, Nari said. I can shut down all their sensors and alarms at once. Are you sure? So-Young asked. Mom, I've been preparing for this my whole life, Nari said with a smile. Trust me. All around them, other colonists were getting ready. Farm tools became weapons. Grain storage buildings became military command centers. The aliens had never suspected that peaceful farmers could become dangerous soldiers. The first strikes happened at dawn on 12 different worlds. Dong Hyun's ships appeared without warning at coalition communication stations. They used quantum tunnels to arrive instantly, which should have been impossible. The alien operators barely had time to send distress signals before their equipment was destroyed. But the humans were careful not to hurt anyone. They disabled the stations and left, vanishing as quickly as they had come. What just happened? Asked a confused Vorthak commander as he stared at his empty screens. I don't know, his aide replied. Ships appeared from nowhere, broke everything, then disappeared. Similar conversations were happening across the galaxy. Coalition forces tried to respond, but their communication systems were down. They could not coordinate or call for help. On New Busan, the uprising began at exactly noon. Nari pressed a button and every alien security system on the planet went dead at once. Alarms that should have warned of danger stayed silent. So-Young raised a flag that human colonists had kept hidden for 5 years. It was the old Earth flag, but with new symbols added for every human world. Today we are free, she announced, over speakers that reached every corner of the planet. The alien guards were caught completely by surprise. They had been comfortable and lazy after years of controlling helpless humans. Suddenly, those same humans were surrounding them with weapons and determination. You cannot do this, the Vorthak governor said as humans took control of his office. The coalition will send fleets to stop you. What fleets? So-Young asked. Check your communication systems. The governor tried to call for help, but all he heard was silence. His connection to the outside galaxy was gone. This same scene was happening on dozens of worlds. Human colonists who had seemed broken and defeated were suddenly organized and powerful. They had spent 5 years planning this moment. But the real shock came when the new human ships appeared. These were not the vessels the Coalition had captured years ago. These were something entirely new. Min Ho Lee stood on the bridge of his rebuilt ship. The Soul's Pride had been upgraded with technology that mixed human engineering with captured alien knowledge. It could travel through quantum tunnels and appear anywhere instantly. Target acquired, his weapons officer reported. Coalition patrol fleet, 12 ships. Remember the rules, Min Ho said. Disable their engines and weapons. No one dies unless they force us to kill them. The Soul's Pride appeared directly behind the Coalition fleet. Before the alien ships could react, precise energy beams hit their engines. The ships were left floating helplessly in space. This is Captain Min Ho Lee of the Soul's Pride, he announced on open channels. You have held my wife and daughter prisoner for 5 years. That ends today. The Coalition captain was speechless. Human ships had been destroyed or captured years ago. How was this possible? More human ships began appearing across the galaxy. Each one was more advanced than anything the Coalition had seen before. They moved like ghosts, striking without warning and vanishing before anyone could respond. But these were not random attacks. Every target was chosen carefully. Communication stations, supply depots, military bases, all were hit at the same time. The Coalition's ability to coordinate was completely destroyed. On the flagship where Kyung-ho Park had once been betrayed, Coalition leaders gathered in emergency session. But without communication systems, they could barely talk to each other. How many human ships are there? Asked the Zephyrian leader. We don't know, Ambassador Daesung replied. His confidence from years ago was gone. Our sensors show them appearing and disappearing instantly. It's like they can teleport. That's impossible, said another alien leader. 5 years ago, we thought controlling humans was easy, Daesung said quietly. Perhaps we were wrong about many things. Reports were coming in from across the galaxy, but they made no sense. Humans were supposed to be prisoners or scattered refugees. Instead, they were acting like a coordinated military force with impossible technology. The truth was even worse than the aliens imagined. Humanity had not just survived the betrayal, they had used it to become stronger. Every hardship had taught them new skills. Every separation had made them more determined to reunite. Jinwoo's scientists had not just copied alien technology, they had improved it. Hyejin's materials were stronger than anything the Coalition could build. Wusung's intelligence network knew more about alien capabilities than the aliens knew themselves. And the scattered human populations had not been sitting idle. They had been preparing, organizing, and waiting for this moment. Phase 1 is complete, Dong Hyun reported to the resistance leaders. All major Coalition communication and coordination systems are down. They cannot organize a response. Phase 2 begins now, replied So Young from New Busan. We start liberating our people. Across the galaxy, human rescue missions began. Ships appeared at prison colonies and detention centers. Families that had been separated for years were finally reunited. Children who had grown up in captivity saw free humans for the first time. But the humans were careful to show mercy even to their captors. Guards who surrendered were treated well. Administrators who had been kind to human prisoners were protected. Only those who had been cruel faced punishment. The Coalition races realized they were facing something they had never expected. This was not a revenge attack by angry primitives. This was a calculated response by a civilization that had learned to be better than its enemies. The aliens had wanted to cage humanity because they feared human strength. Instead, they had created something much more dangerous. A unified human civilization with advanced technology, perfect intelligence, and nothing left to lose. The awakening was complete. Humanity was no longer the victim of betrayal. They were the force that would reshape the galaxy. The Coalition had ruled the galaxy for over a century, But in just 1 week, everything changed. What the aliens had thought was impossible was happening everywhere they looked. Humans were not just fighting back, they were winning. Commander. Kyung-ho Park walked through the corridors of the same coalition flagship, where he had been betrayed 5 years ago. But now he was not a prisoner. He was the liberator. Human forces had taken control of the ship without firing a shot. Status report, he said to his officers as they entered the command center. All major coalition fleets have been disabled or captured, reported Captain Min-ho Lee, who had been reunited with his wife and daughter just days before. Their communication networks are completely down. Most of their leaders are asking to surrender. Kyung-ho nodded, but he felt no joy in the victory. Too many people had suffered for this moment to arrive. And our people? Free, Min-ho said, with a smile. Every human colony has been liberated. Every prison camp has been emptied. Our families are coming home. But this was not a simple military conquest. The humans had done something the galaxy had never seen before. They had won a war while keeping their moral principles intact. Dr. Jinwoo Choi stood in the medical bay of a former coalition prison ship. Around him, human doctors were treating both freed prisoners and captured alien guards with equal care. "Why are you helping them?" asked a young human woman who had been imprisoned for years. She pointed to a Vorthak guard whose injuries were being bandaged. "They kept us in cages like animals." "Because we are better than they are," Jinwoo replied gently. "That's why we will win this war completely, not just militarily." The prisoner looked confused, but an older human man nodded with understanding. "If we become like them, then they really did destroy us," he said. "The only way to truly beat them is to stay human." This philosophy was being applied everywhere. Human forces had captured thousands of coalition soldiers and officials, but instead of revenge, they offered something more frightening to their former oppressors: justice. Wusung Bay had established tribunals on dozens of worlds. These were not angry mobs seeking revenge. They were careful, legal proceedings where alien leaders had to face the consequences of their actions. "You are charged with crimes against humanity," Wusung told a group of Vorthak officials. "You separated families. You stole property. You imprisoned innocent people. How do you plead?" The former coalition leaders expected to be executed or tortured. Instead, they found themselves in courtrooms with human lawyers, alien witnesses, and detailed evidence of every crime. "We were protecting the galaxy," said one Vorthak commander. "Humans were becoming too powerful." "So you decided to commit crimes against millions of innocent people?" asked the human prosecutor. "You decided that your fear justified destroying families and enslaving children?" Some of the aliens tried to justify their actions. Others broke down and confessed their guilt, but all of them had to face the full truth of what they had done. The trials were broadcast across the galaxy. Other alien races watched in amazement as humans showed mercy to even their worst enemies. Guards who had been cruel faced prison sentences, but they were not killed. Officials who had shown some kindness to human prisoners received lighter punishments. Ambassador Dae-sung Kim, who had orchestrated the original betrayal, sat in a human court and listened to testimony from hundreds of victims. He heard about children who had grown up never knowing their parents. He learned about scientists who had died in prison before they could complete life-saving research. He saw the faces of families torn apart by his decisions. "I thought we were saving the galaxy from human domination," he said finally. "I see now that we were just afraid of being equal to them." The human judge looked at him carefully. "Fear is understandable," she said, "but fear does not excuse cruelty. You will spend the rest of your life helping to rebuild what you destroyed." This was the pattern everywhere. Rather than execution or revenge, humans offered their former oppressors the chance to make amends. They would work to repair the damage they had caused. They would help human colonies rebuild. They would face their victims and try to earn forgiveness. Some alien races surrendered immediately when they realized what humanity had become. The Zephyrians sent ambassadors with offers of complete cooperation. "We were wrong. their leader admitted in a message to Kyung-ho. We let fear make us cruel. We want to make things right. Then help us build something better, Kyung-ho replied. Help us create a galaxy where no race has to fear any other. But not all aliens accepted the new reality. Some coalition fleets tried to fight back, using weapons and tactics that had once seemed powerful. They learned quickly that the old ways would not work against the new humanity. Dong Hyun-yoon's tactical forces had perfected the art of precision warfare. When a Vorthak battle fleet refused to surrender, his ships appeared around them instantly. Instead of destroying the alien vessels, they simply disabled every weapon and engine with surgical accuracy. You cannot win, Dong Hyun announced to the alien admiral. We know the location of every ship, every base, every leader in your fleet. We can appear anywhere and disable you before you can respond. Surrender now and your crews will be treated well. The alien admiral had expected a traditional space battle with explosions and heroic sacrifices. Instead, he found his entire fleet helpless within minutes. How do you do this? He asked in defeat. We learned from you, Dong Hyun replied. You taught us that survival requires adaptation, so we adapted. The speed of humanity's victory shocked everyone, including many humans. In just 2 weeks, the coalition that had ruled for over a century was completely broken. Their fleets were captured, their leaders were prisoners, their territories were liberated. But the real victory was not military, it was moral. On New Busan, So Young Lee stood with her daughter Nari and watched as former coalition soldiers worked alongside human colonists to repair damage from the occupation years. The aliens were not slaves or prisoners, they were workers earning their redemption. Will you ever forgive them? Nari asked her mother. So Young thought carefully before answering. Some of them, yes. The ones who show they truly understand what they did wrong. The ones who work hard to fix what they broke. And the others? They will have to live with what they did. That might be punishment enough. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. The humans had won the war, but they were using their victory to build something better. They were creating a new kind of civilization, one based on justice instead of fear, cooperation instead of domination. The aliens who had betrayed humanity 5 years ago now understood their mistake. They had feared human strength, but they had created something much more powerful, human unity. They had tried to cage humanity, but they had only taught humans to be stronger. Most importantly, they had expected humans to become monsters when they finally got revenge. Instead, humanity had proven that strength and mercy could exist together. The reckoning was complete. The galaxy would never be the same again. And for the first time in years, that was a good thing. 10 years after the Phoenix Protocol, the galaxy looked completely different. Where once there had been fear and division, now there was cooperation and hope. The change had not happened overnight, but it had happened completely. President Kyung-ho Park stood at the window of the new Federation headquarters. The building was on Earth, but it was not just a human structure. Architects from dozens of species had worked together to create something that belonged to everyone. The morning reports, Mr. President, said his aide, a young Zephyrian woman, named Zara, who had volunteered to work for the new government. Kyung-ho smiled at her. 5 years ago, her people had been enemies. Now she was one of his most trusted assistants. What news today? The quantum tunnel network is now connecting over 1,000 worlds, she reported. Trade between species has increased by 400%. The new medical technology has extended average lifespans by 30 years across all member races. It was good news, but Kyung-ho had learned to look deeper. And the problems? Some former coalition leaders are still refusing to cooperate with the rebuilding efforts. The Outer Rim territories want more representation in the Federation Council. And there's been another request to expand the Memory Preservation Project. Kyung-ho nodded. Even in this better world, there were still challenges. But they were different challenges, problems that came from growth and success, not from fear and hatred. The Memory Preservation Project was one of humanity's most important gifts to the galaxy. Using advanced technology, they were recording the stories of everyone who had lived through the dark years. Every victim, every survivor, every person who had shown courage in difficult times would be remembered forever. Dr. Jin-Woo Choi, now the Federation's chief science officer, was overseeing the project personally. In a laboratory that was once secret, he now worked with scientists from every member species. "We have preserved over 10 million individual stories," he told his team. "But we need to do more than just record them. We need to make sure future generations understand what happened and why." His assistant, Hyejin Nam, had become one of the galaxy's most respected engineers. "The interactive memorial systems are ready for installation on all member worlds," she said. "Children will be able to experience history directly, not just read about it." This was humanity's way of ensuring the past would never be forgotten. But they were not trying to make other species feel guilty forever. They were trying to teach everyone how to recognize the signs of fear and hatred before they could grow into something dangerous. On New Busan, So-Young Lee walked through gardens that had once been military compounds, where coalition soldiers had once kept humans imprisoned. Now children of many species played together. Her daughter, Na-Ri, now 25 years old, was the planet's education director. She had created programs that taught young people from different worlds to understand each other. "How are the integration classes going?" So-Young asked. "Better than expected," Nari replied. "The young ones adapt quickly. It's the adults who sometimes struggle with the changes." They watched as human children played with young Vorthax and Zephyrians. The alien children had been born after the war ended. To them, cooperation between species was normal. Fear and hatred were just stories from history books. But not everyone had adapted so easily. In a work colony on the edge of Federation space, former coalition leaders who had committed serious crimes were serving their sentences. They were not in prison cells. They were building new homes and schools for refugees from their own war crimes. Ambassador Dae-Sung Kim, who had planned the original betrayal, worked in construction crews during the day and attended counseling sessions at night. He was 70 years old now and his back ached from the physical labor. But he continued working because he understood it was necessary. "Do you hate us for making you do this?" asked his human supervisor, a woman whose family had been separated for 5 years because of his decisions. Dae-Sung stopped his work and looked at her carefully. "I hate myself for making it necessary," he said. "You could have killed me. Instead, you're letting me try to repair some of the damage I caused. I should thank you, not hate you." This conversation was happening in many places across the galaxy. Former enemies were learning to understand each other. Some found forgiveness. Others simply learned to live with their guilt. But all of them were contributing to something better than what had existed before. The new Federation was not perfect. There were still arguments between species. Some groups felt the humans had too much influence. Others thought the old coalition races were getting off too easily for their crimes. But these were normal political problems, not the deep hatred that had nearly torn the galaxy apart. Disagreements were settled in council meetings and courts, not with weapons and fear. Captain Min-Ho Lee, now an admiral in the Federation Defense Force, commanded fleets that included ships from dozens of species. His crew was no longer just human. It was a mixture of the best officers from every member race. "Admiral," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving a distress signal from the Kepler system. Unknown vessels are attacking civilian ships. All ships prepare for quantum tunnel jump," Min-Ho ordered. "But remember the protocols. We protect everyone, not just Federation citizens." The Federation military was the most powerful force in the galaxy, but it operated under strict rules. They protected all innocent people, even from species that were not Federation members. They used force only when necessary, and they always offered mercy to enemies who surrendered. When Min-Ho's fleet arrived at Kepler, they found pirates attacking refugee ships. The pirates were from a species that had rejected Federation membership and chosen to remain independent. "This is Admiral Lee of the Federation Defense Force," he announced. "Stop your attack immediately and we will discuss terms." The pirate leader laughed. "You humans are soft," he said. "You won't fight us because we're not your enemies." "You're wrong," Minho replied calmly. We will fight anyone who hurts innocent people, but we'll give you one chance to stop before we make you stop. The pirates had heard stories about Federation military technology, but they thought the stories were exaggerated. They learned quickly that the stories were actually conservative. Within minutes, all the pirate ships were disabled. Their weapons were destroyed and their engines were dead, but their life support systems were untouched. No one had been killed. You will be taken to the nearest Federation court for trial, Minho announced. If you cooperate, you will be treated fairly. This was the new reality in the galaxy. Crime still existed, but it was met with swift justice, rather than revenge or politics. The greatest change was in how young people thought about the future. On Earth, in schools that welcomed students from every species, children learned about science and art and history. But they also learned about cooperation and understanding. Nari Lee often visited these schools to speak with the students. Why did the war happen? Asked a young Vorthak student whose grandfather had fought against humans. Because the adults forgot how to talk to each other, Nari replied. They let fear make their decisions instead of using wisdom. Will it happen again? Asked a human child. Not if you remember these lessons, Nari said. Not if you choose to be better than we were. The memorial gardens on New Busan had become a pilgrimage site for people from across the galaxy. At the center stood a simple monument with words in every known language. In memory of those lost to fear and hatred, their sacrifice taught us that betrayal plants the seeds of its own destruction, while mercy builds the foundation for redemption. Every day, beings from different worlds came to read the names carved into the walls. Former coalition soldiers came to remember the humans they had hurt. Human survivors came to honor those who had not lived to see freedom. Young people came to understand the price of hatred, but the most important visitors were the children. They came in mixed groups, humans and aliens playing together, learning together, growing up together. To them, the monument was not about old wars and ancient hatred. It was about the importance of choosing kindness over fear. Wu Sung-Bei, now the Federation's Minister of Truth and Reconciliation, watched these young visitors carefully. His job was to make sure the lessons of the past were never forgotten, but also to make sure they did not poison the future. Are we succeeding? Asked his assistant, a former coalition intelligence officer who now worked to heal the wounds she had once helped create. Wu Sung pointed to a group of children who were playing a game that required cooperation between different species. Look at them, he said. They don't see aliens and humans, they just see friends. Yes, I think we're succeeding. The galaxy had learned something important from humanity's story. Strength without compassion led to tyranny. Fear without wisdom led to cruelty. But when mercy and justice worked together, they could create something beautiful. The new order was not perfect. It never would be. But it was better than anything that had come before. And it was getting better every day, one choice at a time, one friendship at a time, one generation at a time. Regret had indeed come too late for those who betrayed mankind. But from their regret, and from humanity's response to betrayal, had grown something that would benefit everyone for centuries to come.